Chapter 21. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Combat Strength Test Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation. You're really Lin Xiu. Sun Chen looked at Lin Xiu viciously. He had heard of the name of this lowest-ranking student in the academy, but he had never expected to actually meet Lin Xiu under these circumstances. Moreover, he even broke Li Yuan's arm. Even though Li Yuan had underestimated his enemy and there was the element of luck, Sun Chen had to admit that Lin Xiu's strength was definitely not at the bottom. That's right. Lin Xiu nodded, then said to Li Yuan, "Sorry, I went a little too hard. I'll pay for your medical treatment." You. Hearing Lin Xiu's words, Li Yuan was so furious that he nearly spat out a mouthful of blood. Courting death, huh? When a guy heard Lin Xiu's arrogant tone, he couldn't tolerate it and was about to take action. "Stop!" Jiang Shao knitted his brows and yelled. That guy stopped what he was doing when he heard Jiang Shao. "Don't embarrass our Xingyao Academy here. Both parties are at fault and Lin Xiu had already apologized." Jiang Shao didn't want matters to reach a deadlock and Lin Xiu was a loser anyway, so Jiang Shao would be tarnishing his own class reputation by fighting with him. "Lin Xiu, do you dare to come for the final battle test?" With support from everyone, Li Yuan stared at Lin Xiu and asked. At the end of every term, there would be a battle of strength before a new round of ranking was conducted. The top 100 students would receive the Academy's cultivation resources. Why not? Lin Xiu raised his brows and replied. "Sure. I'll be waiting," Li Yuan said with a ferocious glint in his eyes. Not long after, the students from Class 1 dispersed. The remaining people looked at Lin Xiu in surprise. Never mind that he defeated Su Jun previously, they didn't expect that even Li Yuan from Class 1 was also in Lin Xiu's control. "Lin Xiu, amazing ah! You broke this fella's hand." Yang Tian patted Lin Xiu's shoulder and said. At this moment, Luo Li was also looking at Lin Xiu with eyes of admiration. Luo Li didn't expect that Lin Xiu would actually improve so much within such a short period of time. "Oh right. Everyone, please measure your combat strength. I would like to see if there is an increase after the combat training," Luo Li said to everyone. The combat strength test apparatus was the Federation's latest development. It could reveal the strength of a person's muscles, the power of a person's explosive force as well as various attributes, and give a combat strength score. Although it was reasonable to say that the higher the combat strength score was, the stronger one's physique would be. But in actual combat strength was not everything. People with a lower combat strength could also defeat someone with a slightly higher combat strength. The pub was well equipped and this combat strength test apparatus was also found here. Luo Li watched as everyone went on the apparatus and recorded the results in a booklet. Yi Qiu, Beginner Warrior, Overall Combat Strength 450. Ning Mu, Beginner Warrior, Overall Combat Strength 389. Yang Tian, Beginner Warrior, Overall Combat Strength 469. Sigh, my combat strength only increased by over 20 points. Yang Tian said, slightly upset. As long as there is an improvement. Luo Li nodded towards him as he recorded it down. After the actual combat training, everyone's body coordination had improved and some even became stronger. Their combat strength had also increased by over 20 points which Luo Li was quite satisfied with. "Zhang Yi, go on up," Luo Li said to Zhang Yi when he saw that almost everybody was done. As the class monitor of Class 29, Zhang Yi was quite gifted in the aspect of cultivation despite his character. Luo Li was still quite eager to see whether Zhang Yi's current strength had improved. Zhang Yi nodded, then slowly walked to that combat strength test apparatus as everybody watched. As the apparatus was activated, Zhang Yi's data was being calculated. Everyone from Class 29 crowded around and the students looked like they were holding their breaths. Very soon, a line of words appeared on the display. Quasi-Warrior, overall combat strength 675. Quasi-Warrior, Zhang Yi has already become a Quasi-Warrior. The students gasped in surprise. Usually, people with a combat strength of 300.600 were beginner warriors, 600.800 were Quasi-Warriors and 800.1500 were rank 1 warriors. It seemed like Zhang Yi was close to becoming an official warrior. Those who became an official warrior before college, which was around the age of 18 years old, were considered good seedlings. Luo Li nodded and appeared quite pleased. Zhang Yi's progress was obvious to all, which made him very happy. Zhang Yi, since you're now a Quasi-Warrior, you can try learning cultivation technique tomorrow in school. Luo Li said to Zhang Yi. Sure. Zhang Yi was delighted and quickly nodded. Official warriors were so strong because of this cultivation technique. There were many beneficial energies in the universe and mankind called them sources. By absorbing the source energy in the air, which strengthens their cells' energy, the muscles in their body and even bones were constantly strengthened. Next up. Lin Xiu. After Luo Li recorded Zhang Yi's combat strength, he looked at the next name and paused before calling out. At this moment, when everyone heard Lin Xiu's name, the students all turned and looked at him. This loser who was once at the bottom had an explosive energy in just a short period of time, which shocked everyone. HNG, even when a loser has a little bit of strength, he is still a loser. Yi Qiu stood next to Zhang Yi and scoffed. Hearing what Yi Qiu said, Zhang Yi's face lit up slightly. He thought so too, and even if Lin Xiu had become slightly stronger, he was still at most a beginner warrior and wasn't a threat to him at all. HNG, why don't you break class 1 Li Yuan's arm as well if you're so great, huh? Yang Tian couldn't help but speak up when he heard Yi Qiu's ridicule. You. Yi Qiu's expression changed and he pointed at Yang Tian with a trembling finger. Noel.n, he's just lucky, Yi Qiu retorted. You'll find out the combat strength of this loser very soon, just watch. Lin Xiu didn't care about the discussions around him and took a deep breath, then stood on top of the apparatus. The apparatus was running, and a few lasers shone on Lin Xiu's body. Very soon, the machine began to analyze his results. Everyone's eyes were on the display of the apparatus. How would the former number 1 loser of the academy perform this time? Soon, the machine's smart analysis was completed and a line of words appeared on the display. Chapter 22. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 10 years with swords, 100 years with spears. Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation, ding. As the sound rang out, a line of words appeared on the display, Quasi-Warrior, overall combat strength 676. Damn. Yang Tian initially guessed that Lin Xiu's combat strength wouldn't be too low, but he didn't expect that it would be so high. Also, Lin Xiu's combat strength just happened to be 1 point higher than Zhang Yi. Impossible, Zhang Yi mumbled to himself. The others were dumbfounded. This was unbelievable. How could he improve so quickly in just a few short days? Could it be that he had been hiding his strength all this while? The students looked at Lin Xiu differently now, and the look of disdain faded away from their faces. Lin Xiu stood in the center at this moment with his fists clenched tightly. He was merely the top in class right now, and that wasn't enough. He wanted to be the top warrior. Luo Li was shocked too. Lin Xiu had simply brought him too many surprises. Great! Great! We finally have 2 Quasi-Warriors in our class now. The next morning, everybody took the maglev train back. Due to the exhaustion from the past 3 days, everyone was much more active when they returned. Lin Xiu, Zhang Yi, come over. After a half-day journey, everyone arrived at Xingyao Academy. After the other students left, Luo Li asked Lin Xiu and Zhang Yi to stay behind. Since both of you have reached the quasi-warrior level, you may try choosing the direction of your future development. Luo Li brought Zhang Yi and Lin Xiu to the martial arts hall and said to them. Direction. Zhang Yi was stunned like he was overwhelmed. You guys should know, right? The skins of evolved beasts that are rank 3 and above had changed. Right now, even lasers are unable to penetrate their skin, not to mention the bullet technology in the past. But with mankind's efforts, we have finally gathered some special metals from other planets, and the weapons created with these special metals could break through their armor and cause damage to them. You're saying that we can choose our weapons? Lin Xiu interrupted Luo Li and asked. The former Lin Xiu's combat strength was very weak, but he was the top student for his knowledge of mankind's history and other topics. That's right. Luo Li nodded. Pick the right weapon, then fit it with its corresponding skill, and this would display the strength of a true warrior. Swords, great at piercing, could hurt people in every direction, able to use for attack and defend. Knives, great at chopping, could cause large-scale damage when used with a skill. It's the weapon with the strongest killing power. Teacher Luo, what is the weapon you use? Zhang Yi thought about it and asked. Staff, I use a staff. Luo Li reached out and brought his staff over without hesitation. Even though staves only cause blunt injuries and weren't as bloody as compared to sabers and swords, it could still cause a great deal of damage when used with a skill. Luo Li held his staff, then stood in the middle of the martial arts hall. He yelled, Silver skill. Sweep of heaven and earth. The second he waved his staff, a huge shadow appeared in a flash. Bang, the staff hit the ground and the entire ground began shaking as if there was an earthquake. Amazing. Lin Xiu clicked his tongue when he saw this scene. He had heard that Luo Li was a rank 3 warrior, but he didn't expect that the same silver skill would be so much stronger when performed by a rank 3 warrior compared to that rank 2 warrior in the A20 district forest he met previously. If that staff hit a person, he or she would probably be smashed into a pulp. This is just a silver skill, there is still gold skill and diamond skill. Those are more powerful but are also harder to cultivate. Luo Li placed his staff back to its original place and said. I've decided that I want to use a saber. Zhang Yi nodded and said. During the A20 district real combat training, he found the battle blade that the academy distributed to everyone was quite easy to use. And, I also think that the saber is quite suited for you. Luo Li nodded, then walked to the computer and began to record the information with a card. Very soon, he handed Zhang Yi the card with Xingyao Academy's logo printed on it. Your information is inside the card already. Take this card and go to the second floor of the library. You can get the secret saber techniques card and the cultivation technique. Thank you, teacher. Zhang Yi was brimming with joy when he received the card. After thanking the teacher, he began walking towards the library. Lin Xiu, even though I don't know how your strength has skyrocketed, everyone has their own secrets and I wouldn't probe. But what weapon have you decided to use? Luo Li spoke to Lin Xiu with a complex gaze. In terms of knowledge, Lin Xiu was definitely considered a genius, but in terms of cultivation, he had very poor aptitude. Luo Li didn't think that he could actually reach the level of a quasi-warrior in such a short period of time, and this was simply shocking. Spear. Lin Xiu replied directly without hesitation. Spear. Luo Li was taken aback. He thought that with Lin Xiu's character, he would choose swords or sabers, but never expected that he would choose spears. A spear was considered the king of 100 soldiers and its killing power was extraordinarily strong. But as the saying goes, it takes a year to be good with sabers, 10 years with swords and 100 years with spears. Spears could be said to be one of the most challenging weapons to train. Once trained well, it would be formidable. Just like Zhao Zilong from the famous scene in the Romance of Three Kingdoms, he was using a spear. Could you tell me why you chose this weapon? Luo Li asked out of curiosity. He felt that he couldn't understand the current Lin Xiu. If not for the fact that Lin Xiu looked exactly the same, Luo Li would have thought that he was a different person. Teacher Luo, do you know who is the top warrior in the world? Lin Xiu didn't answer his question and looked at him with a squint as he spoke. Before Luo Li could answer, Lin Xiu continued, Dong Fanghua, he uses a sword and his famous skill. Drowning sword method was said to be able to slash an entire town. The second in the world is an American, Tua Ursi, and he uses a giant sword. Teacher Luo, don't you think that the list of top 10 warriors in the world is lacking a warrior who uses a spear? Luo Li's mouth opened wide, and when he looked at Lin Xiu, he saw something called ambition. Chapter 23. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Silver Immortal Soul Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation. Luo Li was in a state of shock as he watched Lin Xiu's back view as he left with his card. He had a premonition that Lin Xiu might truly become the #1 spear warrior in the world ranking. Xianyao Academy's library was not the ordinary library of the past. The majority of libraries no longer used the old paper books of the past, the majority had turned to electronic books, and most of the libraries all had supercomputers that were capable of downloading information through the web. Aside from keeping historical items on the other floors, most were used to contain ancient weapons. The second floor was where skills cards were kept. Aside from basic weapon and cultivation techniques, the other skills required union coins or were rewarded by the academy. Lin Xiu noticed many students walking in and out upon arriving at the library. The gigantic library not only looked like it came out of a science fiction movie, but it was also filled with many installations. It was truly something that he could only see in the movies in his previous world. Upon arriving on the second floor, Lin Xiu saw many glass displays with various bronze skill cards and felt dazzled by them. Many students relied on part-time work to earn union coins and purchase skill cards. In theory, only quasi-warriors had the ability to fully unleash the power of bronze skill cards, while official warriors and above could train in silver cards. There were extremely few gold and above skills. Even if it was on the market, it would be extremely expensive. Without overthinking it, Lin Xiu walked to the installation in the center and swiped the card provided by Luo Li. 2 cards slowly floated from the bottom of the screen. Both cards had various engravings on them with bold golden words in the center. Fundamental Spear Arts, Cultivation Technique. Lin Xiu, I won't lose to you. Right at this time, Zhang Yi appeared from the side and spoke earnestly to Lin Xiu. Lin Xiu had become much stronger in a short period of time. The pressure on Zhang Yi was immense. But correspondingly, it had incited an unprecedented fighting spirit. Let's wait and see. Lin Xiu replied indifferently. With both spear and cultivation technique at hand, he was only lacking in a weapon. But he had yet to become an official warrior and could not enter the warrior union web to purchase weapons, so he could only head to the academy's spirit weapon establishment. There was a specialized weapon craftsman that forged weapons. Kid, what weapon do you want? Just as Lin Xiu walked in, a bearded middle-aged man spoke to him. A spear. Lin Xiu nodded his head and replied. Spear. The middle-aged man was startled before chuckling. I've just made a spear here. Take a look. Lin Xiu followed him over and saw a silver spear. It was glistening with a cold aura and looked extremely sharp. How is it? Want to have a go with it, Biov? This was made from Xingyu ores from Moonstar. No need to talk about its sharpness, it is capable to even break through the skin of rank 3 evolved beasts. The middle-aged man took a sword out and slashed onto a gigantic beast armor. Sparks were produced from the attack and left behind a deep scar. Lin Xiu took a similar style sword and tried it out for a bit. He then used his finger to touch the spear tip lightly, which instantly led to blood. It was sharp, extremely sharp. See, it's good. Special price for it now, 50,000 for one. The middle-aged man laughed and said. But, it's a bit too light. Lin Xiu felt something was wrong with it, and after pondering about it, he felt that it was the weight. The unique point about Xingyu ores is its lightweight, but it is sharp enough. The middle-aged man added. But seeing Lin Xiu's dissatisfied look, he had to shake his head. There is a heavy one, but I'm afraid you can't pick it up. Let's try it. Lin Xiu's eyes lit up upon hearing that. Give me a moment. The middle-aged man nodded his head and walked into the back room. Lin Xiu took a look around, and the middle-aged man returned soon with a large wooden box. The wooden box was covered in dust, as though not having touched for a long time. The middle-aged man blew on it with a "hoo," and the dust scattered away. Cough, cough. Lin Xiu covered his mouth. We haven't sold these heavy spears in a long time. Not because there aren't people who use spears, but very few can utilize such heavy spears. The middle-aged man laughed as he opened the box. A silver spear was inside, causing Lin Xiu's eyes to sparkle. This silver spear was different from the one before. It was not as bright but had a reserved beauty. This spear was relatively larger than the others, and even though it had a weak glow to it, he was able to see the cold glint of the spear tip. Can I give it a go? Lin Xiu asked happily. Yes, you may. The middle-aged man nodded his head in approval. As soon as he took the spear, Lin Xiu almost dropped it. Do you know how heavy this spear is? The middle-aged man leaned against the table and asked rather excitedly. How heavy is it? After exerting his utmost strength to carry it, Lin Xiu finally held it tight. 65 kilograms. Damn it. Lin Xiu cursed, it was as heavy as a grown man. Ordinary people would not even be able to brandish it. It is called Silver Immortal Soul. It's made from Xian ore, but it uses the mother stone of the Xian ore, which is much heavier. Not only is it heavier, but its sharpness and durability are twice better than weapons made out of ordinary Xian ores. The middle-aged man wanted to laugh at Lin Xiu, but his mouth quickly gaped open. Because right at this moment, it looked as though Lin Xiu was actually dancing and getting used to the spear. Lin Xiu adored it more and more. Although it was heavier, he would get used to it through practice. I'm taking it. This spear cost Lin Xiu 35,000 Union coins. Lin Xiu had changed his dorm to a standalone dorm. After all, it was no longer suitable on the other side since Ma Chang and the others did not dare stay with him. When he returned to his dorm, Lin Xiu lay in bed comfortably. Carrying the spear back took a toll on him. It was definitely different with money, he was able to switch to a dorm just for himself. Chapter 24. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Gift Pack Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation. Lin Xiu's dorm was on the top floor, which also had a large training ground that students could use after class or during holidays. He took his spear and headed to the training ground. As it was class time, there was no one there. Lin Xiu did not waste any time as the end of term was round the corner. He had to improve himself as fast as possible. He held on to the fundamental spear arts card and placed it on his forehead. The card immediately lit up and information flowed into his brain. Even more spear movements and techniques surged in as though he was an experienced spear user for a long time. Lin Xiu knew that although the card could bring in plenty of information into his own brain, it was only an external help and such state would dissipate slowly. He had to grasp this time to familiarize himself with the fundamentals of the spear. The spear was heavy as Lin Xiu tightened his grip on it and suddenly drew an arc upwards. Bang! The spear left his hands and dropped onto the ground. Lin Xiu chuckled bitterly, it seemed that he was overly ambitious. The spear was truly too heavy and even waving it was difficult. After resting for a moment, Lin Xiu clenched his teeth and raised the silver spear once again. He exerted his utmost strength and brandished it forward. He could not waste any time. He gave himself 3 days to familiarize with the fundamental spear arts before training it and grasping his own spear Dao. Although the spear was heavy, Lin Xiu still swung it out as his body got drenched with perspiration. The first few swings were the most difficult and he could only swing it twice in the end before taking a break. An unknown period of time had passed. Lin Xiu laid on the ground gasping for breath. Tired. He was too tired. After a few hours of practice, he felt as though all his energy had been drained. Lin Xiu placed the cultivation technique card on his forehead while resting. All sorts of energy existed on the planet at any moment of them, but ordinary people were unable to sense them. But for warriors, they were able to absorb the energy and use them to temper the body. All of these energies were termed as source. Ordinary cultivation techniques required official warriors to gain enlightenment and very few quasi-warriors were able to do so. Of course, that was excluding geniuses. The card lit up and plenty of words emerged in Lin Xiu's mind. All sorts of cultivation content formed in his brain. He took a deep breath and started meditating according to the cultivation contents. An hour passed and Lin Xiu recovered greatly. He slowly crawled back up. Why does it feel like nothing happened? According to the cultivation technique, after successfully absorbing the source energy, the body should have a warm and comfortable feeling. No, continue training. Lin Xiu clenched his jaws and trained like a devil. He tormented himself for the entire afternoon and night quickly arrived, but the feeling never came. I think that the cultivation techniques used by official warriors have a higher probability of being successful, Lin Xiu muttered to himself. Right at this time, Lin Xiu subconsciously looked at his own stats board. Host. Lin Xiu level. Level 10 experience. 8565, 20508 experience required for the next level, strength. 69 physique. 42 speed. 32 note. Ordinary person's value is 38 and above skill. Analytic I, Fury Rage build. Up. 0 out of 100 overall combat strength. 689. What's going on? Why did my strength and physique increase when I didn't add any potential points? It was clearly 67 in strength and 40 in physique previously. The experience seemed to have grown as well. Wait a minute, could it be that while training and strengthening my body, the experience, strength, etc. will increase correspondingly? It seems to be that way. Lin Xiu was joyous upon having this revelation. It seemed that he could grow faster than anybody else. It quickly reached wee hours and just as Lin Xiu was prepared to return to his dorm, he heard an announcement in the system. Ding, August month lottery update, for master to take note and receive. Lin Xiu was startled and became ecstatic. So it had such a thing, aside from the system providing rewards periodically, there would be a lottery opportunity every month. Once midnight passed, it was just nice August 1st. Without hesitation, Lin Xiu immediately moved into the lottery page. It was the same as last time with 10 sections, but the things inside had changed. The first to capture his attention were 3 sections that revealed skill cards, differentiated by 2 with bronze skill cards and 1 silver skill card. The other 3 were weapons. According to the icons, the weapons were random as well. There was an extremely small section that wrote the grand prize, while the other 3 were gift packs icons. What's this? It was Lin Xiu's first time seeing the gift pack icon and became interested. He could still train in awe of the phoenix, so he was not in a need for skill cards. He also had his own weapon, so the best would be the grand prize. But he had struck the grand prize once and Lin Xiu felt that he was not so lucky. He did not bother considering it. He took a deep breath and spun the lottery wheel. The lottery wheel turned and quickly became slower. Please don't let it be a weapon, please no weapons. Lin Xiu clenched his fists and muttered. There were too many weapons and even if he got one, he might not be able to utilize it. Lin Xiu wanted a gift pack as he was curious as to what it entailed. Stop. Quickly stop. He watched the needle move towards the weapon section and became anxious. It was too fraudulent, he had squandered a lot of money for the silver immortal soul, so he did not want any other weapons. Very quickly, the needle swayed around the weapons section before stopping. Damn! Lin Xiu cursed at the thought that the needle had stopped at what he did not want. Lin Xiu was dispirited, but after checking it carefully, the needle had yet to stop. It moved and arrived at the gift pack section. Congratulations master, you have earned a rapid growth gift pack. As Lin Xiu thought to receive the prize, a gigantic red gift pack appeared before him that scared him to the point of jumping. Rapid growth gift pack. What is this? He curiously opened the gift pack and discovered a pair of bracers, leg guards, sleeveless garments etc. Chapter 25 You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yi Shuang'er Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation. Does Master wish to activate rapid growth now? Just as Lin Xiu was looking at the defensive equipment curiously, another notification popped up. Lin Xiu was still suspicious, but he decided to go ahead with it. Master, please equip the training gear. Training gear. These things. Under his curious impulse, Lin Xiu donned on the bracers, sleeveless garment, and leg guards. Equipped, rapid growth system activated. Progress 0/10,000, note. 25 potential points to be gained upon completion, 25 potential points. Lin Xiu was startled but became ecstatic. That was 25 potential points, almost equivalent to him gaining 12 levels. But Lin Xiu was curious, how could he increase the progress? While thinking about it, bang, his entire body fell to the ground. Damn it! Lin Xiu exploded with curse words because he discovered that the original light equipment had suddenly become extremely heavy. The bracers are almost 20 kg, the sleeveless garment is about 40 kilograms, while the leg guards are around 20 kilograms each. This is killing me. After his training, Lin Xiu was almost out of energy. This made him so angry that he wanted to take out the equipment. Warning, prohibited from unequipping before completion. Right at this time, a cold notification appeared in the system. Following the notification, a burst of electricity shot out from the equipment and jolted him. Damn the system, it wants to kill me. He knew that it would not be that easy to gain 25 potential points just like that. Right, there were other things inside the gift pack. Lin Xiu struggled to search the gift pack and took out a card as well as an eccentric herbal medicine. Rapid Growth Enlightenment Card. Lin Xiu looked at the introduction at the back. Utilizing it will increase enlightenment ability, effective duration. 1 day. What did that mean? The other medicine was used to treat wounds. Lin Xiu was stunned but placed both things into his bag. As he had exhausted himself with training prior, taking a step now was extremely difficult for him. Without a choice, Lin Xiu crawled and rolled before being able to drag him and the spear back to the dorm. What Lin Xiu was unaware of was that after that night, an inconceivable rumor had spread throughout the dorm. A crawling zombie had appeared at midnight. Inside Xianyao Academy's North Campus training ground. The majority of students were sprinting at high speed while others stood in the center to train themselves or spar. The entire field was extremely rowdy. Round 19, Lin Xiu felt giddy but persevered. There was a total weight of approximately 140 kilograms on him. Under such a weight, the burden on his physical body was too huge and Lin Xiu clenched his teeth to run. For every round, he saw the progress increase by roughly 10 points with the occasional 20 points. It was uncertain. The current progress was 321/10,000, he was still far from success. Big Brother Lin Xiu. Right at this time, a voice came out from behind as Lin Xiu felt a smack on his shoulder. Bang! Lin Xiu immediately fell to the ground. What are you doing? Lin Xiu turned and glared behind him. Under the heavy stress, the sudden smack on the shoulder had forced him down to the ground. He turned and saw a beautiful girl who had red eyes seemingly from being shouted at. It looked as though she was about to cry. "Schwanger, it's you." Lin Xiu was startled when he saw her. "Sorry, big brother." Lin Xiu's mood isn't that good. Lin Xiu immediately crawled up and consoled her. Yi Schwanger, the daughter of a weapons craftsman that stayed beside Lin Xiu. Due to their proximity, they were familiar with one another. The young girl in his memory had grown into a slender and elegant woman. "Humph!" Yi Schwanger glared at him before breaking out into a smile. "Why are you here?" Lin Xiu asked. He recalled that she was a sophomore. "It's almost midterms and our teacher wants to bring us to a few academies to see which one we like." Yi Schwanger replied. "Aren't you in second year now?" Lin Xiu asked. "Hee, I skipped grades." Yi Schwanger raised her head and replied proudly. "So powerful." "But of course." "What about it, are you prepared to come to Xianyao Academy to play with me?" Lin Xiu smiled and revealed his white teeth. "So narcissistic, who wants to find you?" Yi Schwanger punctured his dreams and glared at him as her cheeks turned slightly red. Ever since Lin Xiu entered senior high, they had not met for a long time. He had inherited Lin Xiu's memories and treated Yi Schwanger as the little sister of his neighbor. They sat side by side on the grass and chatted. "Are there so many evolved beasts in A20 district?" Hearing Lin Xiu's account of A20 district, Yi Schwanger's eyes revealed excitement and fear. "I want to go for actual combat training as well. Are you a beginner warrior now?" Lin Xiu laughed and asked. Isn't that Lin Xiu, the one who stayed beside you?" Before Yi Schwanger could reply, an untimely voice came out. Tang Ping looked at Lin Xiu with an ugly expression and said, he was Yi Schwanger's peer that had come over to take a look at the academy. Yi Schwanger was pretty and adorable and naturally had many suitors after her. Tang Ping had previously heard of Yi Schwanger having a very good older brother. After seeing how Lin Xiu and her were seated so intimately, he became extremely unhappy. "I heard that Xianyao Academy's strongest last place is a person called Lin Xiu." Another person by Tang Ping's side spoke up as well. "Tang Ping, what is the meaning of this?" Before Lin Xiu could speak, Yi Schwanger fumed with anger as she turned and screamed at Tang Ping and his clique. "Nothing much, we juniors saw our senior Lin Xiu and felt like having a sparring session." Tang Ping waved his hand and chuckled. He had long heard that Lin Xiu was not even comparable to a beginner warrior and was considered trash. Despite being 2 years ahead, Tang Ping believed he could defeat him easily. Chapter 26. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tang Tian Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation. I'll spar with you. When Yi Schwanger heard Tang Ping's words, she stood up and clenched her fists as she spoke to him. She obviously knew that Lin Xiu wasn't good at martial arts, and Tang Ping and the others were clearly bullying him. "Schwanger, how could I fight with you, huh?" Tang Ping laughed. "My name is Yi Schwanger." Yi Schwanger knitted her brows and scoffed. "What's the matter? Don't tell me that Senior Lin Xiu is afraid." Tang Ping didn't care about what Yi Schwanger said and continued laughing at Lin Xiu. His words were extremely vicious. If Lin Xiu didn't agree to it, it meant that he couldn't even defeat a junior high student. When this news circulated, Lin Xiu's reputation would be tarnished. "Sure, I will spar with you." Lin Xiu raised his brows and stood up. Tang Ping was elated when he heard that. Great, he would have a chance of teaching Lin Xiu a lesson openly, then. "Brother Lin Xiu," Yi Schwanger tugged Lin Xiu's arm anxiously. Tang Ping's expression turned nasty when he saw this scene. "It'll be fine." Lin Xiu rubbed her little head and smiled, which made Yi Schwanger blush. She pouted, "I'm not a little kid anymore, come on. With everyone crowding around, the two people stood in the middle of the training ground. TSK, Brother Tang Ping is a genius who is close to being a quasi-warrior, and that loser actually dares to spar with him. One of the students chuckled loudly. HNG, Brother Lin Xiu wouldn't lose. Yi Shuang'er clenched her little fists and said angrily. That was what she said, but Yi Shuang'er was still quite worried in her heart. Begin. Lin Xiu took a deep breath, then said to Tang Ping. Genius. That young lady he met was the real genius. Lin Xiu just ran 19 rounds and his body was still laden with a weight of over 100 kilograms, so it was still quite strenuous for Lin Xiu. But dealing with Tang Ping shouldn't be an issue. Tang Ping charged over instantly after Lin Xiu spoke, and he was very fast. He waved his fist directly and came towards Lin Xiu. Oh no! Seeing this scene, Yi Shuang'er's expression changed and Lin Xiu seemed like he was just standing at the same spot and hadn't come to his senses yet. Tang Ping laughed sinisterly, and just as his fist was about to hit Lin Xiu suddenly waved his fist out. A loud bang resounded and Tang Ping's expression became ugly. He was shocked by the force that came from Lin Xiu's fist and took a few steps back. Senior Lin Xiu, not bad. Try this move of mine. Tang Ping's expression changed slightly as he sneered. Then, he put out his palms and continued attacking Lin Xiu. Tang Ping's flying ash palm may be a bronze skill, but he is very good at it. Lin Xiu is doomed. One of the students burst out in laughter when he saw this scene. Flying ash palm was quick and every move cut through the air as the surrounding air made resounding swishing sounds. Lin Xiu frowned and his body wanted to dodge, but with the heavy weight, his speed was reduced tremendously. Lin Xiu managed to dodge the first two attacks, but when Tang Ping's next palm came, Lin Xiu got hit with a bang and took a few steps back. He nearly fell to the ground. Tang Ping didn't stop at all. At this moment, he continued his victorious pursuit and charged towards Lin Xiu. Tang Ping continued using the flying ash palm and kept attacking Lin Xiu's body one palm after another. Good. Well done. Tang Ping saw that he was making Lin Xiu retreat backwards, but Lin Xiu still didn't fall, which made him frustrated. With his next attack, he must strike at the top of Lin Xiu's skull. Even if Lin Xiu didn't die, there was a good chance of brain hemorrhage and he might even become a vegetable. Be careful. Yi Shuang'er's face turned pale when she saw this scene. She wanted to run inside to block. Lin Xiu's pupils constricted when he saw this incoming attack. Just as the palm was about to strike his crown, Lin Xiu used all his might and used his arm to block. Tang Ping's palm landed directly on Lin Xiu's arm. Before he withdrew his palm, Lin Xiu grabbed him by the wrist with both hands and twisted it without holding back at all. Crack, and Lin Xiu had twisted Tang Ping's wrist at a 90 degrees angle. Ah! Feeling the intense pain, Tang Ping's eyes widened and he howled in agony. At this moment, Lin Xiu landed a kick directly on Tang Ping's abdomen and sent him flying. This unexpected scene scared everyone and nobody expected that Lin Xiu, who had been getting attacked, would actually launch a counter-attack all of a sudden. And this counter-attack was actually so powerful. Lin Xiu. I want to kill you. I want to kill you. Tang Ping got up with the help of those people who were with him just now. His eyes were full of resentment and his originally handsome face turned vicious. Since he was little, when was he ever hurt so badly? He was the young master of the Tang family and this chap actually broke his wrist. This was unforgivable, unforgivable. Brother Lin Xiu, are you alright? Yi Shuang'er stood in front of Lin Xiu at this moment and looked worriedly at Lin Xiu's body. Don't worry, I'm fine. Lin Xiu shook his head. Those vests, wrist guards, and leg guards were very burdensome, but they provided a certain level of protection too. Also, with his quasi-warrior physique, Tang Ping's flying ash palm just now was formidable, but it didn't cause a great deal of damage to him. Just then, Lin Xiu sensed a figure flashed by next to him and his pupils constricted. Be careful. Lin Xiu pushed Yi Shuang'er away quickly. At this moment, he didn't have time to dodge anymore and a sharp pain came from his chest as he was sent flying. His back rammed against a wooden pile and with a loud bang, the wooden pile collapsed. Pfff, he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Brother, break all 4 of his limbs. Tang Ping yelled when he saw that man walking over. The intense pain was making him go crazy. Lin Xiu looked over and a man who looked quite similar to Tang Ping was staring at him coldly. Lin Xiu thought about it and knew who this person was. Quasi-warrior, Tang Tian. His photo appeared on the Academy's bulletin board before. He was at the 100th place on the combat strength list, the vice-president of the Academy's Fist Technique Society. You broke his wrist, I want all 4 of your limbs. Tang Tian strode towards Lin Xiu and said. Chapter 27 You are listening at novelfull.audio. Martial Arts Battle Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation All 4 of my limbs. When Lin Xiu heard what he said, his eyes narrowed. The analytic eye was activated and he could see Tang Tian's information. Character. Tang Tian Quasi-warrior strength. 102 physique. 75 speed. 46 overall combat strength. 752 Seeing this, Lin Xiu's pupils constricted. This chap was about to become an official warrior and other than his speed, his other attributes were much stronger than Lin Xiu's. Damn it. Bang, just then, Tang Tian had already charged over and he was about to punch Lin Xiu. Under normal circumstances, Lin Xiu could still dodge, but at this moment, Lin Xiu had a weight of over 100 kilograms on him. A punch landed heavily on Lin Xiu's chest and he felt his qi and blood surging inside him as he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Stop it. Yi Shuang'er ran over and stood in front of Lin Xiu to block. Get lost, otherwise, you'll end up like him. Tang Tian said icily. Don't you dare. Lin Xiu stood up suddenly and his hands were balled up into fists as he yelled fiercely. Before Tang Tian could attack again, Lin Xiu launched an attack over. You've overestimated your own capabilities, Tang Tian sneered. Lin Xiu's actions were simply too slow in his eyes. When Lin Xiu attacked, Tang Tian didn't move or dodge at all and simply threw a punch over. Taking a closer look, his fist appeared to have an unusual qi wrapped around it. Source strength. Lin Xiu was stunned. This chap was only a quasi-warrior and had already learned cultivation technique, he could already absorb source energy into his body. His fist was about to pound onto Lin Xiu's fist in no time. But just as Tang Tian and Lin Xiu's fists were about to collide, he opened his fist and grabbed Lin Xiu's arm. At this moment, he used a lot of force and there was a resounding bone cracking sound. Lin Xiu gritted his teeth and the sharp pain caused his eyes to open wide. After that, Tang Tian swept his right leg horizontally and Lin Xiu fell to the ground. Smash his legs. Those people who were with Tang Ping just now yelled while Tang Ping was already sent to the medical room. Tang Tian saw that Yi Shuang'er wanted to run over to stop him, so he waved his arm out in that direction and the wind from his palm made Yi Shuang'er fall to the ground instantly. I want you not only to become a useless person, I want you to be crippled. Tang Tian revealed a sinister smile then lifted his right leg and was about to step onto Lin Xiu's leg. Be calm even in today's world, if the bones were completely broken, there was no way of getting it back to the same way it was before and he might need to replace them with prosthetics next time. This was fatal for a warrior. Lin Xiu's pupils constricted and he broke out in cold sweat. Right now, he couldn't retaliate anymore. Weak. He was still too weak. Stop. Just as Tang Tian was about to step on Lin Xiu's right leg, a voice rang out. Tang Tian turned in the direction where the voice came from and didn't care, he did not stop. Bang! His leg was about to step down, but Tang Tian suddenly felt a force and was so shocked that he took several steps back. Tang Tian, what are you doing? Luo Li stared at Tang Tian, and when he saw that Lin Xiu was fine, he couldn't help but heaved a sigh of relief. Lin Xiu had improved drastically, and according to his current growth rate, if he continued this way, he could possibly become very powerful. It would be a real pity if his legs were destroyed by Tang Tian just like that. Oh, so it's Teacher Luo. Tang Tian said indifferently. He didn't seem to care just because Luo Li was a teacher at the academy. A senior is bullying a sophomore student. Luo Li furrowed his brows and asked sternly. Luo Li was very upset with Tang Tian's attitude, but Tang Tian was from the Tang family, and the Tang family was quite influential in this area. Also, they sponsored the building of this academy. He broke my younger brother Tang Ping's wrist first, Tang Tian said coldly. He looked at Lin Xiu like he was looking at a dead person. Once he decided on something, nobody could stop him. Even if he couldn't break Lin Xiu's limbs right now, he could do it after school or during the holidays. Would Luo Li always be there, huh? Exactly, Lin Xiu bullied us first. Those lackeys of Tang Ping spoke up at this moment too. Tang Ping said he wanted to spar, and he almost used his palm to attack brother Lin Xiu's crown while they were sparring, like he wanted Lin Xiu's life. Yi Shuang'er was sent flying by Tang Tian's palm, but she wasn't hurt. The academy will decide who's right and who's wrong. Luo Li said coldly. There were cameras around this place, and they would find out what exactly happened later on. Tang Tian frowned, then turned around and wanted to leave. Tang Tian, I want to have a martial arts battle with you. At this moment, Lin Xiu stood up and said to Tang Tian. Tang Tian stopped in his tracks, then turned his head and sneered, you sure? Lin Xiu, don't be foolish. When Luo Li heard what Lin Xiu said, he quickly pulled Lin Xiu's arm. Martial arts battle had another name, the battle of life and death. Two people could attack at will until the other party conceded defeat, and nobody had to take any responsibility for death. You don't dare. Lin Xiu narrowed his eyes and said. What a joke. You think I wouldn't dare? Tang Tian laughed. 3 days later, Martial Arts Hall. Brother Lin Xiu, what is a martial arts battle? When Yi Shuang'er saw that Tang Tian had left, she asked Lin Xiu nervously. Just a normal sparring. Lin Xiu smiled and gave Luo Li a look. You must be careful, then, Yi Shuang'er said. Not long after, Yi Shuang'er left after the teacher called out. You're really going to fight with him? Luo Li asked. You have great potential and improved so much within such a short span of time, but Tang Tian is about to become an official warrior soon. If you want to fight with him, the chances of winning are close to zero. I've made up my mind. Lin Xiu nodded and said. It wasn't his style to tolerate it when others stepped on him. Also, the former Lin Xiu had already suffered enough. Back at the dorm, Lin Xiu took out that bottle of medicine from his bag and applied it to his broken hand. At first, he just wanted to try the effects of it. But to Lin Xiu's surprise, the medicine was so good that his broken hand began to heal and there was a numbing sensation. Chapter 28. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Rupturing Fist Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation. As for Lin Xiu's decision to fight with Tang Tian in the martial arts battle, Lin Xiu thought about it carefully and it wasn't a rash decision. His fury skill would have cooled down, and with the completion of his rapid growth progress, it was very likely that Lin Xiu could defeat Tang Tian. Although that medicine was amazing and allowed his broken bones to heal very quickly, Lin Xiu still decided not to cultivate the spear techniques today and took out the Rapid Growth Enlightenment card instead. Are you sure you want to use the Rapid Growth Enlightenment card? After taking this card out, Lin Xiu received a system notification in his head. Yes. Remaining time. 23, 59, 59-inch. The system began the countdown immediately. At this moment, Lin Xiu felt that his mind was clear and felt as if he could figure out many things that he couldn't before. Lin Xiu sat cross-legged on the bed and began to use the cultivation technique. Source energy, source energy. Although Lin Xiu carried out each step in accordance with the instruction, he still could not feel the so-called source energy. Lin Xiu frowned. The difficulty level was really for official warriors. Was it really so difficult to cultivate? Lin Xiu gritted his teeth and thought about how even Tang Tian, a quasi-warrior, had cultivated the source energy. It was impossible that Lin Xiu couldn't. With that thought, Lin Xiu continued. He relaxed his body and used his heart to feel it. Very soon, as Lin Xiu put aside all other thoughts and focused on the cultivation technique, he began to feel like there was something being absorbed into his pores. There was a warm sensation that made Lin Xiu feel so comfortable that his knitted brows relaxed. Success! Lin Xiu stood up and punched the air excitedly. With the first success, when Lin Xiu tried to use the cultivation technique again, the source energy began to be continuously absorbed into every muscle, bone, and cell in his body. The source energy may be very little now, but with continuous practice, his body would become stronger and be able to absorb more source energy. Other than allowing his body to be stronger, the source energy could also be stored in his body, and through the release of source energy when he used high-level skills, it would allow the skills to be even more powerful. Lin Xiu felt that it was very likely that his success in using the cultivation technique was due to the use of the Rapid Growth Enlightenment card. Also, Lin Xiu realized that with his continuous absorption of the source energy, his experience seemed to be slowly increasing. Although it was very slow and it merely increased by over 100 per hour, but after cultivating for one night, it would be over 1,000. Big news, big news. Loser Lin Xiu is going to the martial arts battle against Tang Tian. This news appeared on the 3D projection television in class. Lin Xiu, he would be beaten to death. Ha ha ha, I would like to see how Tang Tian beats him to death during the duel. Useless Lin Xiu, what a joke. Other than class 29, the students from other classes also found this piece of news hilarious. Many people saw how Lin Xiu defeated Su Jun, but most of them still felt that it was just an accident. As it wasn't the end of the term yet, the combat strength ranking wasn't refreshed, so Lin Xiu was still at the bottom. Why would Lin Xiu fight with Tang Tian? Yang Tian mumbled as he looked towards Lin Xiu's seat. As Lin Xiu requested a leave of absence, he wasn't in class. However, his theory results were great, so the teacher didn't make things hard for him. Big brother, you must kill him. No, don't kill him, break all his limbs. Tang Ping said to Tang Tian. Although his right arm had gone through treatment immediately, it would still need over 10 days for it to fully recover. Don't worry, I will help you take revenge. He's simply courting death for provoking our Tang family. Tang Tian nodded and said. He took a sip of his tea, and not long after, a man walked in. Young master, Lin Xiu has been running in the training ground from morning till night these 2 days and didn't do anything else. The man said respectfully to Tang Tian. Running. Tang Tian furrowed his brows. Ever since the fight that day, he knew that Lin Xiu was not really useless and even had a bit of combat strength. Otherwise, Lin Xiu wouldn't be able to break Tang Ping's wrist. Initially, Tang Tian thought that Lin Xiu had a way of defeating him, but it seemed like he was just thinking too much. Bronze skill. Rupturing fist, as its name implies, it could cause an explosion in the air, and it was said to be the most ferocious punch in close combat. Lin Xiu waved his fist to practice while mumbling to himself. This rupturing fist might be a bronze skill, but its destructive power was comparable to that of a silver skill. Lin Xiu found this skill card in the library, and it was placed at the corner, covered in dust. At first, Lin Xiu thought it was quite strange. Why didn't anyone want to cultivate such a powerful skill? After careful questioning, he found out that this rupturing fist had a name called hurt self before hurting others. The explosion caused by this rupturing fist would also shock the user's body. If the user wasn't strong enough, they would become disabled before successfully cultivating this skill. There were quite a number of students who tried cultivating this skill before. After all, for quasi-warriors or rank 1 warriors, it was great to possess a bronze skill with the strength of a silver skill. However, after these students cultivated the skill, they suffered from light internal bleeding and their bones broke. Lin Xiu wasn't rash when he chose to cultivate this skill. But he realized that the bottle of ointment in the growth gift pack was simply too amazing. Other than healing external injuries, it could be taken orally, which would treat internal injuries. Also, the effects were fast and almost immediate. The danger of the rupturing fist was at the beginning stage, and once the user was proficient with the skill, the explosion would no longer cause any harm to the user. Lin Xiu would run in the day and continuously wave his fist against a giant rock on the mountain behind the academy. Under the moonlight, Lin Xiu was covered in sweat. Also, Lin Xiu realized that other than the increase in running speed, the rapid growth had also improved the practice and use of skills. Bang, bang, bang. The pounding went on continuously and many loose stones kept falling off the surface of that rock. But Lin Xiu knew that this wasn't enough. It was said that the true rupturing fist would cause damage to the enemy from inside out, and just a single punch would damage the enemy's internal organs. Lin Xiu's current state was still only causing damage externally and not internally. At midnight, Lin Xiu would practice his spear art and the awe of the phoenix skill. He must say that the rapid growth enlightenment card was really helpful. He was already skilled at spear art, which actually required quite a long time to practice, and the awe of the phoenix card had already turned into a silver skill. Near the early hours of the morning, Lin Xiu continued to sit cross-legged and absorb the source energy. A warm sensation came to his originally tired body. Ding! Congratulations, Master, on leveling up. You're currently at level 11. Chapter 29. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Battling Tang Tian. Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation. I actually leveled up. Lin Xiu was startled but felt that it was right after thinking about it. As he absorbed source energy continuously, the experience he had gained was more and more. From the original 100 experience points per hour, it swelled up to a few hundred per hour. It far exceeded Lin Xiu's expectations. Lin Xiu quickly brought up his stats board. Host. Lin Xiu level. Level 11 experience. 65, 220,108 experience required for the next level, strength. 78 physique. 50 speed. 52, note. Ordinary individuals have values above 38, skill. Analytic I, Fury Rage build. Up. 0 out of 100 overall combat strength. 699 remaining potential points. 1111 potential points. Where do I add them to? Upon thinking about it, Lin Xiu added 10 points into physique and the last point into strength. Very quickly, Lin Xiu felt his body loosen up. The burden on his body was no longer as intense. He continued down the board. Progress 9504/10,000, still not enough. Seeing the numbers made Lin Xiu want to cry. Although he was getting used to the burden, Lin Xiu felt terrible under the stress. It seemed that he had to fight with less than 70% of his original strength. But he had no other choice. The martial arts battle was in the night and he could no longer continue his high-intensity training. He had to rest. He returned to the dorm and applied the remaining medicine to his body. Lin Xiu felt all the wounds from training rupturing fist recover at an astonishing rate. He sat down cross-legged and began absorbing source energy. After being proficient in the cultivation technique, he was capable of activating and absorbing source energy in his sleep, but the effectiveness was much slower. Martial Arts Battle. The martial arts battle is about to begin. The night was bound to be rowdy and filled with excitement. A large number of students had gathered at the martial arts hall with all the seats filled up. Many were excited about the upcoming battle. Trash versus genius. When was the last martial arts battle? A year ago. An old man with a long white beard sat at the front table and smiled. Yes, Mr. Yi. Luo Li nodded and replied from the side. They were seated at the judges' panel. Aside from the man called Mr. Yi in the center, the other two were the respective teachers. In charge. Luo Li, I will get Tang Tian to be merciful and not threaten Lin Xiu's life. Tang Tian's teacher, also class 2 teacher. In charge, Lu Bai, smiled and said. A trash challenging his excellent student to a martial arts battle, wasn't that seeking death? Winner and loser haven't been decided. Luo Li snorted. Luo Li, you are still as stubborn as ever. Lu Bai smiled and shook his head. In his eyes, the battle had been determined. The battle is about to begin, may both competitors go up the stage. Speakers in the middle called out the announcement that reached every corner of the hall. Two figures standing at opposite ends moved towards the center stage. Lin Xiu was dressed in loose white robes with a silver spear in hand. Matched with his handsome face, he gave off a suave aura. That is your big brother Lin Xiu, he is so handsome. Yi Shuanger had found a good spot with two bosom friends at her side that complimented Lin Xiu. Of course. Yi Shuanger replied happily when she heard their compliments. But upon thinking about Lin Xiu's martial arts battle, her heart tensed up again. She only found out that the martial arts battle was extremely dangerous after that day. You cannot get hurt, Yi Shuanger clenched both fists and muttered under her breath as she looked at the figure on stage. Tang Tian stood at the other hand with a long sword and a cold glint in his eyes. He could clearly sense that Lin Xiu had gotten stronger. What exactly happened? Was it from all that foolish running from day to night? Do your best, Lin Xiu. Yang Tian stood from his seat and shouted, although Lin Xiu could not hear anything from his position. The majority of class 29 students were there, and they clenched their fists as they looked at Lin Xiu. Lin Xiu, you cannot lose. Zhang Yi muttered with a dark expression as he gazed at Lin Xiu's figure on stage. Although he was at odds against Lin Xiu initially, Lin Xiu's battle would reflect on the class honor. Xianyao Academy's class was ranked based on results. In theory, Class 1 overall strength was the strongest while Class 29 was the weakest. Alright, students. The very first martial arts battle for the year is about to begin. On the one hand, we have Lin Xiu from Class 29, and on the other hand, we have Tang Tian from Class 2. Right at this time, Mr. Yi, who was seated at the judges' panel, shouted into the microphone which reverberated throughout the entire hall. Tang Tian. Tang Tian. Following Mr. Ye's announcement, the majority of spectators cried out for Tang Tian's name. Although Tang Tian was ranked in the 100s, every one of them was hailed as a genius and was extremely popular in school. On the contrary, Lin Xiu received many ridicules from the crowd. Lin Xiu. Lin Xiu. Yi Shuanger and her friends screamed loudly. But their support was quickly overwhelmed by the others. The clock struck 8 and Mr. Yi waved his hands before speaking, the time is on the dot, both parties get ready, the first to admit defeat will end the competition. Are you ready to kneel and admit defeat, or be killed by me? Tang Tian spoke to Lin Xiu coldly. Even when you are admitting defeat later, I won't stop. Lin Xiu replied indifferently. Seeking death. Tang Tian's face changed as he charged straight for Lin Xiu. The sword was unleashed with a cold glint as it thrust toward Lin Xiu's neck. Bronze skill, bloodthirst, throat sealing. Who would have thought that Tang Tian was the first to strike and with a killing technique? A few students cried out in shock. Bloodthirst, throat sealing was extremely fast and was capable of killing even before the opponent could react. Yi Xuan'er gasped when she saw the move and her heart moved to her throat. Clang! Right in that instant, Lin Xiu's eyes constricted as the silver immortal soul in his hand moved. The sharp tip blocked the sharp end of the sword and produced a metallic sound as sparks were ignited from the collision. Chapter 30. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The beginning of the real battle. Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation, he blocked it. Lin Xiu actually blocked it. Although it was a bronze skill, the speed of the sword was not something any ordinary warrior could react to. But who would have thought that Lin Xiu seemed to know Tang Tian's attack and used his spear to stop the attack? The crowd was in an uproar. If they didn't know who he was, no one would have believed that he was the real Lin Xiu. The last place trash actually blocked Tang Tian's move. Phew, lucky he is alright. Yi Xuan'er patted her own chest and heaved a sigh of relief. But she watched on with anxiety in her heart. At this moment, Lin Xiu had a frown on his face. Although he had blocked the attack, he still felt the prick on his neck. There was a faint line of blood on his neck. Sword aura, the skill actually contained sword aura. Humph, Tang Tian snorted. Although he was surprised by the fact that Lin Xiu had blocked his attack, it did not cause him to falter. He continued to move forward and thrust with his sword again. Clang, clang, clang. Tang Tian moved extremely quickly, preventing Lin Xiu from counterattacking as he retreated continuously while swinging his spear. Lin Xiu's robes had tears and holes in them with traces of blood on his arm. You want to compete with me with that speed? Tang Tian taunted while moving even faster. The sword was imbued with source strength and unleashed sword auras. Lin Xiu's defensive stance could prevent the physical attacks, but he felt the stabs of pain from the sword aura. Powerful, too powerful. As expected from the top 100. A few students became excited as they watched the spectacular battle. Luo Li frowned. Tang Tian was too strong and had even gone through a few actual combat training. While Lin Xiu had only gone to A20 district once and his strength was lower than Tang Tian's, how could he? The worry on Yi Xuan'er's face became denser. After all, Lin Xiu was faced against a quasi-warrior who was about to reach the realm of official warriors. Slow, too slow. Tang Tian commented while increasing his fanatic attacks as swords spewed out like a torrential storm. But at this moment, his jaws were clenched tightly as his eyes revealed disbelief. Although Lin Xiu was on the passive, regardless of how he attacked, he had no way of dealing a fatal strike. And as time passed, his attacks were being seen through and the success of being deflected by Lin Xiu became higher and higher. Humph. This brat still dares to challenge Tang Tian. I see that he is about to die. Li Yuan sat at another location with a sinister look on his face as he commented, both eyes spewing venom. Although the arm that Lin Xiu had broken was fixed, he could not forget the humiliation. No, it won't be that easy. Sun Chen, who stood by Li Yuan's side, shook his head and commented. Although Tang Tian's attacks looked to be increasingly threatening, he had no way of killing Lin Xiu. At the most, he was only able to inflict small wounds. This was not normal at all. Go and die. As his repeated attacks were blocked by Lin Xiu successfully, Tang Tian was infuriated. He roared and summoned a large quantity of source strength from his body into his sword. Bronze skill, Raging Flame Strike. His sword was immediately enveloped with flames as he slashed towards Lin Xiu. Let's see how you block this. Tang Tian's eyes revealed a sinister glare. Lin Xiu's pupils constricted. He had exhausted a lot of strength, but if he attempted to block this strike, he would be devoured by the flames. He was originally waiting for a power up strike which was already at 91 points, but it was still lacking 9 points. But he could not defend against this strike. What should he do? Awe of the Phoenix. In that imminent peril, Lin Xiu clenched his jaws and finally took his first strike. He imbued source strength from his body into the silver immortal soul and swung his spear upwards. Following a loud and clear swoosh, a gigantic flame that took the form of a blazing bird erupted outwards. What skill is that? Luo Li stood up in shock when he saw the scene. He had never seen such a skill before, and the flames seemed to contain an immense and powerful source strength. Wait a minute, Lin Xiu actually gained enlightenment on the cultivation technique already. Lin Xiu's eyes were wide open as blood spots seemed to appear on his body. With source strength in the skill, it had become exponentially stronger. Both flames collided and immediately produced a powerful gale that turned into a gigantic flaming tornado. Tang Tian and Lin Xiu crossed swords fanatically inside the flames. Sounds of metal colliding came out incessantly. Tang Tian's sword desired to pierce Lin Xiu's chest, but Lin Xiu's spear would counter and strike his sword away. The spear suddenly charged at Tang Tian like a dragon. You really think you can defeat me? Tang Tian roared as his sword parried Lin Xiu's spear. Clang! Sword and spear collided once again. Lin Xiu's hand became numb and his grip on the spear unstable. As expected of a top 100 ranker, Tang Tian's strength was simply too great. Tang Tian's sword suddenly thrust forward like a phantom. Caught off guard, Lin Xiu's shoulder was pierced and blood was drawn as it stained his entire sleeve. Bang! The flames dissipated and Lin Xiu flew out like a kite. Everyone was in an uproar after they saw him. Though Lin Xiu was able to block most of Tang Tian's attacks, he was actually flung away this time. To actually hurt me, you can die happy. As the flames dissipated, Tang Tian's charred face appeared. His clothes were burnt as well and he looked to be in a terrible situation. Humiliated, shamed. He was actually forced to such a position by a trash. Big brother Lin Xiu. Yi Shuang'er stood up as her face turned pale. Shuang'er, it's fine, I think your big brother Lin Xiu is getting up again. Her friend seated beside her pulled on her arm and consoled her. Getting up again. Everyone thought that Lin Xiu had fallen, but who would have thought that he was slowly standing up again? But the current Lin Xiu looked to be even worse than before. His shirt had been burnt completely and his face was charred on one side. With a rip, Lin Xiu tore the remnants of the clothes on his upper body. I was just warming up. This is the true beginning of the real battle.